Korra, the revelation. Strap in, everyone, it's about to get real. Okay, right off the bat, I want to say the design for the arena is fantastic. Super distinct, the unique shape and colors make it easily recognizable. Well done, cool stuff.
Deal with it.
You deal with it.
Look, it's Pabu! This is our first time actually seeing the signature fire ferret of the team. Finally, buddy, it's good to see you. So the team needs to ante up a boatload of money to actually participate in the tournament, but it looks like the team's all broke.
I got nothing. I've always had people taking care of me.
Then I wouldn't say you have nothing.
Ever since we lost our parents, we've been on our own.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
I've always really liked this part. It's a nice, natural way for the boys to establish that they're orphans, and it gives Korra a little development too. Not only showing how easy her life has been so far, being under the watch of the White Lotus, but also her quick 180 when she realized she had said something to upset the boys. It's easy to think Korra is just this aggressive meathead sometimes, but she does have a caring side to her too. She's energetic, not heartless. In fact, this whole scene is really smart. Lots of little details here and there. Finally getting some deeper insight on our brothers now that they've been firmly established in our hero team.
As he crosses the ladder of peril, upside down.
Okay, 1. That's not upside down, that's just a handstand. 2. This landing was the best part of the trick. Why not put more focus onto that? 3. If the ladder was higher up, people would probably be more interested because this 3-inch drop is hardly perilous. 4. Great mustache. 10 out of 10 mustache. Let's talk about good directing and blocking. In case you don't know, blocking is the term used to describe where the characters are on screen. What they do, how they move, how they look, that's all part of the blocking. It's something we talk about a lot in film school, like all the time, like the teachers never shut up about it. This scene has really good, subtle blocking, and I love it. So Shady Shin shows up in his car and walks up to Bolin. The shot is from the front, so it looks like he's approaching us, the audience, as well. As he gets closer, he gets bigger, and the camera even has to tilt up to keep up with his face. Right off the bat, he has the power in this scene. It becomes much more clear as we cut to this profile shot, and we see just how much he's towering over Bolin. It immediately establishes him as something bigger than Bolin, not just physically, but the dynamic between them. And it's smart to have Bolin sitting, because if he was standing, they'd probably be similar heights to each other. This concept isn't too difficult to do, and it's not too difficult to catch on when this happens, but I think it's important that Korra and Last Airbender usually play around with camera angles and character placement like this. It's the blocking and directing choices like this that make even their talking scenes engaging. I really loved the fact that Mako's solution really was much more viable. Picking up work in an electric factory? I'm unsure what exactly this job is for though.
Hello. I have a job. I'm going to work.
There's just lots of really good world-building scenes here, and we develop Mako and Bolin more too. In fact, these 3 scenes stitched together as Mako goes back home is the longest time we've spent away from Korra in the show. I'm glad we're getting right into the development of our other main characters so they can work alongside Korra's development. Speaking of Korra, let's go back to her next. Now, at first, I was a little disappointed that she seemingly figured out these spinning fan things so quickly off camera, but the more I think about it, the more sense it makes. This isn't meant to be a top-tier hard challenge. This is the first step in understanding airbending. Seeing that she's been able to pass this hurdle shows us that she is actually learning some airbending techniques. It can't just be her struggling and arguing with Tenzin and not getting it the whole show.
I bet the little lovebird is making a house call.
2 seconds later.
You seen Bolin?
Similar to Korra's lines from earlier, this scene helps give Mako some heart as well. He might be an abrasive jerk towards other people, but when it comes to Bolin, he really softens up. And it's nice we're getting Mako and Korra to finally get along with each other. Their constant bickering could have easily become annoying or repetitive feeling. It's nice to have main characters who aren't afraid to disagree with each other, but it's a problem when they seemingly hate each other. Also, the setup for this conflict worked really well. Bolin Bolin mentions how Mako wants him to stay away from the triple threats, that mixed up with the fact that he and Shady Shin clearly already know each other, tells us right away that Bolin has been mixed up with the gang before in some way. So Mako's worry is warranted because he knows what Bolin's gotten into before. And none of this establishment felt handholdy or boring. And all of this in only the first 5 minutes, leaving us plenty of time to watch Korra and Mako go on an adventure together.
You're good, Scoochie. A real pro.
Scoochie is a dumb name. You gotta work on your nickname skills, kid. So I like gangsters. I think this setting would have been a great excuse to play around with the seedy underbelly of organizations. So I'm a little bummed that the triads never really end up playing a major role in the story. And once you realize that, it makes this whole threat of a turf war feel really trivial on a rewatch.
Ultimate friendship!
When the rogue succeeds their dex roll to hide, but the barbarian just charges in anyway. Oh balls, threat established. The fact that we can see Shady Shin right next to Bolin helps to show us that this was an ambush that even Shin didn't know about. And it's time to finally get introduced to the Equalists. These guys are so much fun. Their glowing green-eyed helmet design is super recognizable and memorable, but more importantly are their fighting styles, using all kinds of different gadgets and tools, but most importantly, chi blocking. When I first found out that the villains were going to be non-benders, I was so intrigued. How could they possibly pose a threat against a bender? Well, chi blocking really is the best thing I can think of. Ty Lee was hands down one of the most powerful combatants they faced against, even though she was a non-bender. Her chi blocking and acrobatics really became a solid threat for the heroes right off the bat. Now multiply that by 100, an army of Ty Lees who all have the ability to take your bending away. Not only is it an intriguing force for our heroes to fight against, but it makes for some really cool combat choreography too. They're bendy and stretchy and super acrobatic. It's just a fun, unique fighting style, and I really love it. Look at you, being all helpful and threatening. What a good little boy.
Well, we used to do some work for them back in the day. We were orphans out on the street. I did what I had to do to survive.
I do like how the scene is sort of the culmination of all the stuff we've been covering so far in this episode. Touching on the boys' history, not only with the gangs, but with their parents. It does feel a little bit hand-holdy at explaining all the stuff we should have caught on to with the prior scenes, but I suppose it's not a bad thing to give some clarification. Also, it serves to get Korra caught up on their history too, while simultaneously developing her friendship with Mako.
Quality now!
Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm!
Why did you react like that? He didn't react like that. Why did you freak out like that? I know it's because she secretly already has a crush on Mako, but like, weird romance shenanigans like this never make any sense to me when we're dealing with young adults or adults. That super shy, ew, wow, I'm embarrassed, we accidentally got caught in a cute moment. Aw gee, gotta pull on your pigtails to pretend like I don't like you like that. Like, it's dumb. These are the actions children do when they have a crush, because they're children. This isn't a bad thing, they're just still processing their emotions and figuring out the world. But these are two fully grown-ass teenagers. These sorts of actions seem weirdly immature for them. I don't want to spend too much time on this for this episode, it's still pretty minor here. I'll go into the dreaded Season 1 romance more in a later episode. You all know the one.
You cannot silence me, Avatar!
Alright, listen, destruction of property is still a bad thing, Korra. Worst of all, she doesn't know if this guy is actually working with the chi blockers or not, so she's basically just giving this guy a shakedown. Not too dissimilar to how the triple threats were doing in the first episode. She might have good intentions for her end goal, but these are not the actions of a heroic person. Now, I don't think these actions are meant to make us not want to root for Korra or paint her in a negative light. Rather, I think the intention is that, in the city you gotta play by their rules type of thinking. If that is the case though, then that sort of mentality really doesn't come across as clear as it should.
I'm helping.
What are you doing?
We'll attract less attention this way.
No? Korra, do you really think it's that fucking weird for a dude and a girl to hang out and not be dating, like how you do with the guys all season. This goes nowhere. They don't pretend to be a couple anywhere beyond this point. See, this is more of that romance crap I was talking about. You can't go from squirming away from Mako like he's literally going to give you radiation poisoning, then 2 scenes later, come up with this half-assed excuse to cling to his arm.
That firebender took my family from me.
I like how Amon's story works really well in duality with Mako's story about his parents.
They were mugged by a firebender. He cut them down right in front of me.
It shows us right away this is a very layered topic. Clearly there's enough people out there who support Amon's ideals, and they likely have also suffered from Benders' abuse. But they're also not the only ones. Even Benders, like Mako and his parents, get attacked by other Benders, and that leaves devastating results. It's not a problem for only non-benders, but it is a problem that seems to be only started by bending. Not only does this add to the complexity of the plot, but to the hero's complexity as well. They can't sit here and say, oh, I've never been hurt by a bender, so the equalists are just being hyperbolic, making a big deal out of nothing. No. Mako and Bolin have suffered the same exact pain these non-benders have gone through. Korra does a great job at presenting this problem with all of its shades of gray. Okay, alright, Amon taking away Lightning Bolt Zolt's bending is amazing. Like, it's so good at establishing his threat level as boss mode. First of all, the kneeling stance feels super reminiscent of when Aang took away Ozai's bending, but Amon does it backwards, which gives it its own, like, weird look and feel. It makes it feel off from what Aang does, yet similar enough where you could believe Amon when he says it was a gift given to him from spirits. But also, it's so smart, because you can see Zolt's lightning turning into fire as the power goes away, before finally just fading away entirely, demonstrating his gradual, yet very quickly paced of his loss of bending. It happens so fast, and it easily sets up just how horrifying Amon is as a villain. Also, this is a pretty good threat level for Bolin. The world of Avatar has never shied away from having real damage affect our heroes, and Korra was brand new here. I didn't know what sort of status quo we would set. Bolin could have had his powers taken away for all I knew. This scene had me legitimately on the edge of my seat. I have nothing super important or clever to say, I just really like this shot and I love their line delivery.
Bolin, you alright?
Yes, Mako! I love you!
Oh balls, it's Long Mustache Man. Okay, so technically he never gets a name said throughout the season, if I remember, but he's referred to as the Lieutenant in the credits, so that's what I'm gonna call him. He's a fun threat too. If the Equalists were an evil Pokemon team, the Lieutenant would be an admin to Amon's leader status, and the Lieutenant's dual electric prods are a fun challenge for the team. Have you ever been shocked? Even from something small, like being shocked from an exposed wire in the cord of your vacuum cleaner? That shit sucks. It's not fun. This is also fun getting to show off Mako and Bolin's combat powers a lot more here. See what they're capable of outside of a friendly sport. I will say the flashing blue of the electricity can be a bit of an eyesore. I'll do my best to avoid using footage of electricity like this for my reviews, just in case anyone watching these has sensitivity to flashing lights. I'll instead opt for this thing I'm doing here, where I'll just have a still image and zoom in on someone's face or something.
You Benders need to understand, there's no place in the world for you anymore.
Got him!
Tenzin, where have you been all episode, buddy? This follow-up scene does a good job establishing that Korra is afraid of Amon. She understands the extent of his threat level and is taking it seriously. This is a good setup for how her character arc plays out in the rest of the season. This whole episode really is full of super smart, well-executed dialogue. Lots of world building and character establishment and development. God, I love this episode, it's so good. And this is such a dour way to end off the episode too. No hooray, we found Bolin! No celebrating, no jokes, just Korra and Tenzin speaking plainly about the gravity of the situation. This really set the tone for what the stakes would be like for Korra here in Republic City. So obviously I love this episode, that should be pretty clear. This is what we really needed to punch the plot into center stage, and it's had the most thrilling action for the series so far too. Finally seeing our heroes fighting against the baddies and using their bending for more than just sport. The first 2 episodes were definitely important, important in order to make me actually care about these characters, make me actually invested in Bolin's safety, but I would understand if you felt this took too long to get properly set up. I guess it depends on where you stand on the watch 3 episodes argument, but clearly I love it. I think it's a fun time, but there is one obvious downside, and it's Korra's weird romance bullshit sprinkled throughout. It's fine if Korra develops a crush on Mako, but I would have liked it more if this episode did a better job at establishing the groundwork for their friendship, rather than spend its time hinting at their future romance. Every time Korra reacts weirdly around Mako, it just takes me out of it. Fortunately, it's only like 3 or 4 times, and they're pretty brief. But beyond all that, this episode is a ton of fun. Our world and characters have been firmly established, and now we can focus on our various adventures with our new team avatar. So I hope you're excited, because next time, shit's gonna hit the fan.
You're gonna split chores and help pay for things, and you've also got a trustworthy mustache. A trust stash, if you will.
Or does he drive you crazy like you like him?
Get out of here!
That's my boy. No, my boy! Father, help!
Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Nako, James Dodds, Cool Duck, Andrew, Valhalan Knight, Chamomile, G Extreme, Classy Critic, Surge, Mordred Pendragon, Boulder Off Bros, Sunny Shy, Great Bar, Caleb Grimm, Pentamenta, Genital War Thunder, Carmen, Jake, Storm, Amber, Lolith, Livid Aries, Just a Chap in a Top Hat, Hype Man, Luno the Evoker, and Zero to Hero. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Getting back into Korra reviews now that October's over. What do you think about this episode? What do you think about Amon? We got introduced to him. I know he's scary. Fun fact, he's voiced by the guy who voices Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop. So yeah, tell me what you think about Amon. What do you think about the romance scenes throughout this episode? Any and all thoughts and opinions, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.